Hey friends, I'm up in Santa Fe. You can see, well, maybe you can't see that I'm in Santa Fe, but you can see I'm not at home. And what showed up this morning was a really interesting moment, and I feel like it's very related to everything that I've sort of been processing and integrating over the past few days. With regard to an open heart is a broken heart. As I was saying, that's Chogyam Trungpa's way of articulating the fact that when we're truly connected, truly present, there's an inherent pang in the heart about the impermanence of it all. We can't get around it. We feel this sense of it's almost like I think of it as sort of like delicious sadness. And as I think about this, this is coming to me in this moment, there's always been a moment, there's always been a thing that has happened as I've engaged in my own creative work, particularly projects that were initiated by me. In other words, not projects that I've collaborated on. So, and I would say I've participated in a far greater number of projects that have been collaborations, sometimes led by me, but sometimes not. Sometimes I was just a member, sometimes collectively led or whatever. But there's been a particular thing that people ask me when it comes to my own projects. And basically they ask the question, what do you want the audience to feel? What is it? What experience are you trying to give them? And what's coming up right now is that this feeling of open-hearted sadness. I've used the word poignant. The word, to me, I know that whenever I was trying to answer that question, I was like, I don't know. I think poignant. And poignant is both the right word because of what it evokes in my mind, and also not a great word because it doesn't really contain very many specifics. It feels sort of like a generic description that, unless I have content to go with it, doesn't mean much. But what's coming to me right now is just a slightly greater level of clarity around that, because the feeling of an open heart, being connected to the universe and connected to all of existence, and feeling the inherent brokenheartedness of the fact of the impermanence of life. For some reason, that's a feeling that I've craved access to, and that in my creative work I've always felt called to somehow embody and express and evoke. And going back to something I said in a previous post, it's not about making people sad. It's not about a sad story. But it is about the connection. It is about acknowledging and accepting this aspect of reality, so that aspect of reality doesn't become a wall between us and the nature of reality. Because if we can't accept the sadness of impermanence, if we can't accept the sadness portion of impermanence, then we have to start rejecting reality. We have to start rejecting the way the world is, and supplanting reality with what our mind wishes it were. And then we're off to the races. Then it's like, how far down that rabbit hole are you going to go? How long is it going to take you to come back? because we're not connected anymore. We're living in the mind instead of in reality. So that's something that just came to me literally as I was speaking just now. Because the event that happened this morning was, I woke up in bed early. I stayed over here last night, and Annalise and Katie were in Albuquerque, and I was here in the basement of my parents' house. And I woke up early, and I heard a siren going down the, probably St. Francis, one of the big streets nearby, like an ambulance. And I had this pang, like, oh God, I hope everyone's all right. And I don't know if maybe I've just always been a more callous person, but that pang was a new feeling. Not a new feeling entirely, but it was a new feeling that I would hear a siren and have that response. I've lived in New York and Chicago and London. I imagine going back there now, like, what would that, in places like that, the sounds of emergency are ubiquitous. You hear the indicators of emergency and urgency constantly. They're the wallpaper of places like that. And so it's tough to be so, you can't really function if you're so sensitive to those things there in a place like that they overwhelm you with emotion every time. You could never function if every time you heard a siren in New York you felt a pang. That would be your job all day and all night. But I've never really, it was like a before thought impulse of like, oh, I hope everybody's okay. And it reminded me of, it felt like the door is opening into this realm that Madeline has kind of ushered me into by encouraging me to reflect on something sad before practicing and reflect on something sad before meditating. That simple instruction is having an effect on my intuition. It's having an effect on on a deep level. It's changing the way that it's changing my before thought relationship to reality. And that's amazing. All day today I actually thought I was going to have a kind of day of relaxing, but I ended up having a relatively intense work day. And I have just been charged with energy all day. It's just like, it's been like, not in a bad way, not in like an over caffeinated way, but just in a sort of like channel opening kind of way. And I think that my sensitivity to an indicator of emergency, the sound of emergency is also signifying that same channel opening, that same sense of something new. I'm in relationship in the world to a new way. I'm in relationship to the world in a new way. So yeah, that's where I've landed today. And it's Santa Fe. All of our chakras open up when we go to Santa Fe. It's one of the secrets of the place. But thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate you so deeply. And there's going to be a conversation happening that I continue over the next several days because I realized that today, it's December 4th. I began these daily posts on January 4th of the year. And so I have exactly 1 month left before I've completed 1 full year. And I've been doing some contemplating. You know, I've gotten to the point in the process where, you know, for a long time I was saying, I've done this. I deliberately chose a timeline that was so long that it would feel essentially infinite. When you're at the beginning of 1 year of doing daily video posts, you're not looking at the end. It doesn't feel like the end is anywhere in sight. You're just in a process of doing this as a ritual, as a practice, as a daily habit. But now I'm 1 month from the end, so the end is very much in sight, and I can sort of track how much longer it's going to be before I have to decide what to do next. And I have had lots of thoughts about it, and I'm going to share them on another post soon, because I want to process them also in the same way with some of the reflection and conversation from all of you. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Mwah. I appreciate you. Love you. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow.